Hey everybody, it is Calxiyn here, and if you guys enjoyed this video, you should subscribe for more Shadows House videos. Today we are going to be doing my reaction and discussion. That's my reaction highlights to the biggest moments, the coolest moments, the scariest moments, as we saw last week, and then afterwards we do a little talk and talk about the episode, theorize, analyze, break everything down. And so yeah, if you want to see my full-length reaction, that is, as always, on Patreon, as are like all of my other ones. So if you pledge today, you could see 1, 2, and 3 all full length, as well as this one, which is 4, right? And so it is a timer and subtitle type thing, a you press play when I press play sort of thing. So if you want to see my full reaction and experience the whole episode with me that way, like my first impressions, that is up on Patreon. But again, reaction highlights, and then we're gonna have a long, lengthy discussion. I'm so excited, and let's just get into it. Oh, the twins! Rose doesn't look happy. Oh, that guy looks older. He's a star bearer too. Interesting. That's not good. Oh, they're in trouble. Oh, you tell her, Mia. Ah, she's standing up to her. Oh. Whoa! Yikes! Whoa! Oh, Emilico, no! Oh, no! Oh, no! This is so bad! What? This man is a suck-up, bro! Oh! No! Oh! Whoa! Jeez! That's not nice! Whoa! Oh no! They have the same attitude as Sarah! Ricky! Okay. Wow! Really? Yeah, because he's a suck-up! Yeah, because he literally, he's a simp! Why can't y'all study and clean at the same time? Like, can't y'all just talk and study? You know what I mean? Study's not reading. You can do verbal study, right? I think she misses her. Aww. Oh, we get to see! Oh my god, we get to see! Ah! Yes, we get to see the other rooms! Oh my god! Oh, no, he is actually mean. Oh, she has to hold their hands. She has to, like, guide them. Oh. He's gonna sleep. Good night. Oh, sir. Oh. Well, that's nice. Oh, but it's not your fault. No. No. That's not true. Wait, what? Okay, Emilico, that's not appropriate. Okay, that's better. Oh. Oh. Guys, I'm getting goosebumps. Oh. This is so nice. She was just like, I didn't forget about you, Shaun. Don't worry. Yeah, that's a veiled doll, right? Ram, no. It's not a phantom. It's a veiled doll, sis. She's just doing stuff, I guess. She just has rolls everywhere. Oh my god. Oh. That's so that's true. There's no way she was in here. They found it! Yup. And there will only be more if they don't clean. Yay! They did it! Oh my gosh. She just has bread all the time. Ow. Guys, oh my god. This was such a good episode. Alright, everybody, let us get into the discussion now. Now, I need to, address this very quickly. I heard from Twitter and Reddit that something has happened in this episode that, or I guess something didn't happen in this episode, I guess I should say. So basically, my understanding is that there was a character that was supposed to be here and they weren't, right? That they did not show up for whatever reason. Well, we'll know the reason. I'll talk about the reason. We do kind of know the reason. They said it on Twitter. But that made people freak the fuck out because basically, if you guys don't know, right, what happened to Promise Neverland Season 2 was that a character that was supposed to show up didn't, and that was like the downward spiral, okay, of the Promised Neverland Season 2, is that was the first sign that something was fucking wrong, was that character did not show up where they were supposed to, and then they didn't, and they cut the entire arc, and it was like mayhem, it was a pandemonium, okay, and so you guys have to understand, okay, I have Neverland trust issues because of Season 2 of Neverland. Like, I was there, I was in the video trenches, okay, you can look, I stuck with Neverland longer than any reasonable person should have because I had hope and I believed in them, okay? And not even as a manga reader, okay? As an anime only, I was like, okay, they're changing stuff, but this can still be... Until, from my perspective as an anime only, the writing was very, very bad. And then, apparently for the ending, which I did not watch because I didn't want to be spoiled, like I want to read the manga, they did some PowerPoint slideshow shit or something. And so I understand why people are worried now because it's the same animation studio, and I feel like that even though the animation studio is probably not in charge of making decisions like that, right? Like, everyone is sort of like, oh my god, what if they're doing the same thing that they did to Neverland? You know what I'm saying, right? And so I understand people's worry. Then the manga writer, I think it was the manga writer, they posted on Twitter and they were like, okay, listen, it's gonna be okay. Yes, this character did not show up, but that was our choice because we want a more succinct Season 1. And maybe if we get a Season 2, we'll put it back. I know how to put it back in as the writer, I guess. I think that was sort of the vibe, right? It was a very rough translation that Google Translate gave me, but that was the vibe, is hey guys, don't worry. I, as the manga writer, decided to do this, and this is why I, as the manga writer, decided to do it, basically. That was the whole thing, is that they decided to do it because I guess, this is so weird because I feel like that this trend has mostly slowed down, but maybe I'm wrong and I haven't been noticing it. But I remember that a lot of the time when I was a teenager, I used to watch anime, right? I used to watch anime. No, obviously I still watch anime, but I remember watching a lot of anime that had one season and it kind of ended, but then it was left open-ended, and through researching online, you could see oh yeah, they made just one season and then it got canceled. They made one season only to advertise the manga. It wasn't supposed to be you know, I don't know how to explain it, actual serialization, if that makes sense. And I thought that was pretty much not done, but I haven't seen it happen in a long time. You know what I mean? I haven't been invested in a show that has happened to. And maybe I just don't watch enough anime, maybe it still happens, but I'm a little concerned because I know that not all the time do shows get renewed for another season, right? Right? It seems that the manga writer is uncertain whether or not the show will get another season, and so what they want to do is present a complete story arc season-wise, a complete, you know, plot thing, a complete story in terms of the season, as complete as they can, right? Because the manga's not done, and obviously, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't, finish everything in a single season unless you want to pull a Neverland, which again, and we do not want to do, right? But yeah, so I just have complicated feelings on this because I haven't seen it happen in a while, but I'm worried that, is that what happens? Should I not be invested in like any anime that's not finished because all my favorite anime will be canceled or won't get renewed? Like, I'm getting a little concerned now, and that's what I mean by like I have Neverland trust issues, right? Like I have nightmares from those days of recording Promised Neverland season 2, because now I'm getting a little like worried that maybe I shouldn't be covering anime anymore. Maybe I should just read the manga, which would be kind of sad because I do like me some anime, but when things tend to go this way where your favorite shows get canceled without any resolution, is it worth it, right? Like, why do they keep doing this? I don't know. And so yeah, that's my little rant. I'm not trying to like go on forever or anything, but yeah, that's my thoughts right now, right? Because I feel like that, like some shows I feel like are like guaranteed for the most part. Like My Hero Academia, like you're fine, bitch, you're gonna get renewed. But I don't know, it just seems like that lately with the, maybe it's my fault, maybe it's the anime I've been choosing, with the anime that I've been watching, it seems like there's some sort of like renewal issues. Like I feel like what happened in Neverland is that for some reason they didn't have enough like traction to get a third season or whatever. Like a lot of people theorize that because the manga was done, there wasn't that much like hype in Japan about it anymore, and there wasn't like enough hype, I guess, in the Western audience, right? But Shadow's House manga is still going, I believe, and so hopefully that's not an issue. But yeah, it's just hard, bro. I don't know. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do if all my shows start getting canceled. But yeah, I just want you guys to know that I know, because people are probably gonna tell me that they cut a character, and I know that they cut it, but for now, I'm gonna trust the manga author, because like they actually tweeted about it, where I feel like the Promised Neverland guy was just like, right? Whereas like this seemed to be like a decision consulted and like made in part like with their help, right? Like, you know, so it's a little bit different. Like it seems like a different situation, because nobody, I don't think anyone commented on what was happening with Neverland. Like I don't think the manga author like commented on it. I don't think anyone said shit. Like they just, you know what I mean? Like they just kept quiet about it, whereas they're actually speaking on this, and so I feel like it's kind of different. But yeah, anyway, without further ado, let us get into the actual like discussion about this episode now. I just really like how all the characters are designed. I know I've said that like multiple times, all the time, constantly, but I feel like that there's a good mixture of, yes, I see that you're the main character, but also you guys in the background don't look super bored. Like, look at this girl. She has little freckles. She's so cute. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, maybe it's just because I know like who's a main character or not. Like, for some reason I look at you and I'm like, well, you're not, obviously. Like, whereas with him, like, he seems like clearly the main character for some reason, but at the same time, it's integrated very well. I guess that's what I should say. Like, for some reason, there's a kind of edge where you can see like who's the main characters and who are the important characters. They have some sort of edge to them, but it's not so much of an edge that they like stand out unjustfully, I guess you could say, right? I do wonder though about like Barbie, just because like she has a very different design. Like her hair's fucking blue, and so I wonder, right, that's just like an anime thing, right? Like, oh yeah, like that's totally my natural blue hair. Or as the faces like rise in the ranks, they have access to stuff like hair dye. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Just because like obviously everyone else except for Lou, but like you could argue that she's just a redhead. It's just anime, right? And so yeah, like except for Lou, I guess everyone else has a very natural hair color. So I wonder if this is like a perk, and this is something that her Shadow Master like wanted. I don't know. I'm just saying. But yeah, this is about that Phantom Mayhem. One of your team's lazy cleaning habits caused this. So obviously, like, we know that's not true. Just based on the episode, it's more like none of y'all checked the hidden room or whatever. Like, none of y'all checked in there, right? And so it's more like, hey, you guys as leaders didn't do a good enough job to give the dolls an idea of where they should clean. And so I do want to talk about the Star Bearers, though, because it seems like there's two of them. So what I'm assuming is one male and one female are picked. Now, what I would find interesting to know is who is the lead over here. Is it these guys? Because they kind of look older than Ricky and Shaun, right? Or even like the twins are probably the leads of this team, like Mia and Rosemary, because I wonder if what's happening is I feel like that Ricky is sucking up because he wants to be a star bearer, but I feel like that to be a star bearer, you would have to be a leader first, and so I feel like that's a trajectory, that Barbie used to be a leader of a team, and now she's a star bearer. Like, that's like the hierarchy. You have a new doll that hasn't passed like the debut yet, then you have like Mia, like team leaders, right? And then you have star bearers. And so I wonder, like, just about like this guy looks really old, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so when is like it adult time? You know what I mean? Like, when do you get to go with the adult nobles? Because I was sort of under the impression that like soon after your debut you would be sorted into something, right? Because Mia and I guess Rosemary already had theirs. Like, I would assume, because she's like, you know, oh, that's where the nobles live, in that wing, right? And so I thought like, oh, that's something that she could attain soon. But like, this guy looks really old, whereas Barbie doesn't. So yeah, that's the only thing, is I'm like, what is the age range of this wing? And like, when are you finally considered like an adult? Because they talk about, oh, you're considered an adult when you have your face, but clearly that's like more of a metaphor, kind of like how it's like, oh yes, you're a woman when you have your period, right? Like, old people say that. I'm not saying that I say that, right? That's a very like, also, you know, gender not inclusive thing to say as well, you know, like, oh yeah, you're a woman when you get your period and everything. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that is how like old people used to think, like that sort of thing, right? But you were still like a teenager. And so I feel like that, like, this wing is all teenagers. So I feel like that you, sir, you're probably like 17 or something. I don't know, he just looks so old. He just looks so old to me. Like, he looks like he's like, I don't know, like he's 19, 20 or something. And so that's just all I'm wondering. Whereas Barbie, I would say that she's probably a little older than Mia, and that would put her at like 15, 16. But yeah, I'm just sort of wondering about that. I would say that after you're a star bearer, then you get like put into the nobility. That's a thing. And so maybe what'll happen is this guy will like leave, and maybe like Ricky will take his place or something. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that you're aging out, sir. Like, you just look really old. Anyway, and so yeah, that's just me speculating on the rankings. And so this is what I mean. Like, look at all these people. Like, they all look pretty nicely designed, even though like they're kind of background characters, right? Like, look at this girl. I like her little like her little hair and everything. I'm here to question you until we get to the bottom of it, right? And so I just like to see all the doll. Like, look at this doll, right? Like, she has like little like hair thing at the side. Like, I don't know, like, it's just a different like sort of hairstyle. And so I really like how they give that attention to the background characters, right? And so yeah, like, look at this man. Like, this man looks like that he should be an Attack on Titan, and he should be the same age as Jean, right? And I don't know if that's just because like they gave her a very like round, like cutesy anime face or something, but like, anyway, I don't know. Get back to cleaning if I'm done with you, right? And so now, obviously, we get to where everything starts to go wrong. It seems like that she doesn't think highly of Rose, and that could probably hurt Rose's standing, right? Because I'm sure that the Star Bearer has some power, and they also said that the Star Bearer's shadow has a lot of influence, and so I wonder if it's not just if the doll does a good job, but the shadow also has to do something in order to be deserving of that position as well. So I'm sort of curious about how that works, right? Like, maybe Ricky being a good doll, like, isn't good enough. Like, maybe Ricky's shadow master would also need to put in some effort, but what if he doesn't? We don't know, right? It was your team that let those scorches slip by. Explain yourselves, right? That wasn't a matter of anything slipping by. We were holding class that day, right? And so she's not making a very good argument right now, right? You're always rambling. You people were neglecting your cleaning duties. Our newest member, Emilico, was still being trained, right? And so I feel like that Mia has a lot more of that leadership bone and a lot more of that fire and like spark in her than Rosemary does. And so I kind of hope that Mia's kind of a leader in a sense, but it seems like that Rosemary is like the team leader because she gets kicked for speaking out of turn later. And so I wonder if something will happen to Rosemary, right? Because she did get like scorch sickness. She's not doing so hot, you know what I mean? And like Mia's the one that drew the map for Emily. Like, it feels like that Mia is a more capable leader, whereas Rosemary's a little too timid, and that could come back later. But I just like that this is the real Mia to me, okay? Like, this, I know that sounds weird because she's angry, but I don't mean angry. I mean fiery. Like, when she's like in the last episode talking about like, oh, like a phantom, do those even exist? Like, there's like very happy, positive positive Mia, but I think that this is like the real Mia, like this like fire inside of her Mia. Like I feel like that this is more her, you know, when she has a better answer than Rose does. And so I'm like, sis, right? We did not neglect our cleaning. And like, look at this man. He's not even phased. He already knows what's happening. I'd be happy to submit our work for your inspection, right? And so, like, I feel like that Mia has the right answer, but unfortunately, she's not the authority. I understand perfectly now. And she just fucking kicks her. And so this is, I think, what Mia meant when she said that not all the dolls were nice. At first, I was like, oh, like, what the heck is that? I think that's just a hair out of place. I don't think that her face is scarred. Yeah, it's just a hair. I was like, whoa. What happened? But yeah, this whole team is a bunch of dimwits. Yeah, she's not very nice. Watch it, Big Mouth. I was talking to your team leader. So that's what I'm saying, is that Rosemary's a team leader, whereas Mia is like just a member of the team. And so I wonder, like, I feel like that Rosemary would be a star bearer if she got like upwards mobility and everything like that. And yeah, this was just hard to watch, because I was like, but Mia had a better answer. Like Mia had a better explanation, right? But Rose is very timid and she won't fight back. You kicked her, how mean. And look at this guy. This guy's just like, I sense a disturbance. I really like how Shaun acts in this episode. I thought that this was really good, because like he basically like saves her and does it in a very like covert sort of way. And I love like that trope of like, I'm saving you, but I'm almost saving you by like, you know, getting in the way in some way. Like at first I thought that Ricky was punching Shaun because they were like pretending. Like I love tropes like that. Like, I'm gonna pretend to hit you to get the blame off you sort of thing. But no, he's just an asshole too, right? And so yeah. Oh dear. You're the one who was waving at me from that window. I see you're one of those sunshiny types. You think that I'm mean? And so I heard, again, I'm hearing a lot of things lately, guys. I heard that instead of sunshine, they call her like flower field in the manga. And the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because I feel like that is significant given how many flowers are like in the show, right? Like flowers are something that only the nobles have in their hair, for example. So I just did want to note it, like just in case it was important. But sunshine, I think that makes sense too. Obviously her hair, right? Oh, you think I'm mean? Are you criticizing how I do my job? And so yeah, he just gets in the way. He just like nothing to see here. He's like mop, you know what I mean? And so I really like this from Shaun. And Shaun's looking at her like, bitch, you know what I mean? Like he's just looking at her like, really, sis? Like, don't do it, you know? And so I thought that was really nice. And so yeah, this guy is like literally a simp. Like, I don't know what other way to explain it. She fell down and he used himself as a fucking pillow. Like, he's a suck up for sure, right? And so I don't know if this will actually win any points with Barbie though, because she does say that he's the most promising, but I feel like that she wouldn't be the type to like accept stuff like that. So that was kind of weird. Maybe she just like, I don't know, because they value loyalty above all else, right? So that's the weird part, is that like clearly he's, you know, he's loyal as a simp. At the same time, I feel like that she wouldn't appreciate someone like blatantly sucking up to her in this way, or maybe she would, maybe she just doesn't care. Maybe it doesn't matter if people's intentions are pure or not, as long as, you know, it works out for her. I don't know. But yeah, how dare you bump into me? Forgive me, my eyesight is poor. It was not my intention to bump into you, right? And he's looking to the side. I think he's looking at Emilico like, I did this because of you, sis, right? And obviously this is like a very like, oh, I'm lying thing, like when an anime character is looking straight up and then looks away. But what's interesting is I think that in the OP, or maybe it's the end card, in one of them he is wearing glasses, I think. And so I feel like that would be cool, just because like we have this conversation, wear glasses if you have trouble seeing people. My master doesn't wear glasses, so wouldn't it be odd for me to? And so I think that that's an interesting idea, because I think that we do see him with glasses like in the end song, but not only that, but like the more that you change your face in a sense, the more individuality that you have. And so I feel like that an important theme could be like the dolls finding their own individualism, right? Like you have not Emilico to the same like extent, like appearance wise, but like when you think about Emilico, she has a name that is so different from Kate. Emilico, Kate. It's like they gave her her own name so she could be her own person. Whereas you have Patrick, Ricky, right? Like you have that sort of like wordplay thing. And so I think that like him being told to wear glasses, even though Barbie doesn't necessarily mean it that way, Shaun's interactions with Emilico, like, she will somehow inspire him to be more of his own individual, and then he'll start wearing the glasses for that reason, right? And it'll be like a, you know, the dolls are starting to see themselves as people type of thing because of Emilico situation. Sir, you did not need to go this far. See, he is a suck-up. He, like, punched him, bro. That's no way to speak to Barbie. She's a star bearer. You're the black sheep of our team. And so I wonder if this was, like, kept in translation, just because obviously the flower field thing was like changed or something, right? But yeah, and then unfortunately Rum, who apparently her name's pronounced like Ram, but for some reason that's how they translated it. Anyway, I'm finding out too many things from Reddit, but like these are very small things that are not spoilers, but like good to know. So I guess I'll call her Rum just because I think that that's basically like, I don't know. I guess it depends on what her shadow mistress's name is, and then we can sort of decide from there like what we want to call her, right? And so I don't know what she was doing that like she dropped it. I guess she got scared because of like people were punching each other, and meanwhile these two are just like, oh man, really? Right? But I wonder, like, who's the fourth member of their team? Or did they just both get put in charge of her because she's just so much trouble? That's kind of a sad thing to think about, right? You're the most inept of all. You're always dropping things and scattering the soot you've collected. And so, like, she's just trembling. I've read the reports. You can't fool me. That Phantom Mayhem was your fault, right? And obviously it's not, right? Like, we know that it's not because of, we know what happens in this episode, but still, like, I feel like that this was just like a really like hard scene to watch, even if you know that that Rum isn't responsible, because ultimately no one will stand up for her, and I feel like that she wasn't even standing up for herself, right? So even though you know the truth, that Rum knows she didn't do it, right? Like that her teammates probably know that she didn't do it, right? Like it's like no one's standing up for her. Nobody's defending her until Emilico comes in, obviously. Like, she's just accepting it because she's not confident enough to speak up, right? And so Emilico tries, but then Mia shakes her head. Mia's like, no, don't do that. She's part of our team, isn't she? Please help her. I think that was supposed to be like, she's part of, like, you both, like, your team, right? Why? The truth is we cannot do a thing. Plus, she has been nothing but trouble for our team, and so they have a very, like, Sarah-like personality, but more monotone. Like, they were very, like, callous in this moment, and, like, oh, the little Miss Failure came back again, but in these two. And so I wonder how their shadow masters are. But all the blame will be pinned on her. Someone must take the blame. It may as well be her. A doll as inept as her won't make it past the debut anyway. And so I get the impression that they have both passed the debut, right? They know what it entails, and so she won't pass, right? And so again, that sort of failure idea, sort of like what Sarah thinks. And so I feel like that, like, I don't know, I feel like that because they've been through the debut, like, Sarah went through the debut, and so she knew to call Emilico a failure, if that makes sense, right? And so I feel like the same must be true of these dolls, is that when you actually see what goes down during the debut and then you're a leader, even though you can't tell them anything about it, you know which dolls will survive, basically. You know which dolls will succeed. Not to say that Emilico is gonna fail, because I don't think that she is. I think things are gonna be fine. But I could see that from them, is that I think that after your debut, a lot of your optimism sort of like drains in that regard. Like, you know, you've seen the culling for yourself. You know the weak from the strong. And I love this because Mia's just like, I told her not to and she did it anyway. You again. There must be an explanation. Sunshine, good for nothing, black sheep. She means you, right? And so like Ricky seemed offended by, Ricky took that personally. I hereby assign you 3 to the Night Watch. I'll report of your ineptness to the adults in the other wing if you fail, right? And so, like, I feel like that these guys are just like, oh, I feel bad for them. You know what I mean? These two seem kind of more like, I don't know, like this girl's crossing her, no, she's not crossing her arm. That's more of like a comforting gesture. Like, they all look like they feel bad for them. What is your name? I'm Ricky. You're the suck-up. Out of all the dolls, you're the only promising one. And so, see, like, that's the thing that I don't understand. Like, Barbie seems seems like that she would like not take that fake ass shit, right? But maybe I'm wrong about her character. Maybe she doesn't care, and maybe she knows that the only way to get through Shadow's house is loyalty, and so even if it's fake, if he has fake loyalty, that's better than real contempt. You know what I mean? Like, fake loyalty, pretending to be loyal, is better than really being disloyal. We're not done because of Barbie. She's abusing the new dolls, so I guess they're just not done cleaning for the day, right? I think that basically this conversation is akin to like Emilico wanting to go back to Kate so they can study, but the reason why they're not done and they have all this work to do is because Barbie is like abusing the new dolls. And Emilico, no good will come of standing up for others, and that's such like a callous, unfortunate like way of thinking, right? Like, they would have all let it happen. No one would stand up to Barbie. Even the other dolls were all like bystanders, and like that's like the worst thing that you can be. But Emilico's like, yes ma'am. I don't think that she believes it though. You should really avoid provoking Barbie. Her shadow master is a very important figure. And so this is what I'm saying. It's like, did Barbie become star bearer because of her shadow master, or was it more of a joint thing, right? Like, do you get to be star bearer because you're also a good doll, right? Or is it just because your master is good? I feel like that it would have to be both, because obviously, like, based on the debut, if you have an inept doll but a good shadow, they still fail as far as we're aware, right? Or the reverse, something else may happen, right? And so I feel like that it must be both. I feel like that for your shadow to be strong, your doll must be strong, and like vice versa. You can only ascend the ranks together. It doesn't necessarily matter, like, say like Lou is a great doll, like she would never be star bearer if her master wasn't like important for whatever reason. And so I found this from Rosemary interesting. She's like, nothing you need to thread over. Barbie will soon lose interest in this, right? And so she's giving a more like cheerful, like, don't worry about trivial matters. She'll just forget about it, right? But I don't think that's true. Now, we have rocks. I don't think that we can really tell anything from this photo like we could in the last episode photo, but I will say that there does seem to be a bridge here, and so I'm assuming that that's probably for the train. And so this could be another image of just like how the train goes up to Shadow's house, wherever Shadow's house may end up being. And so it's a very little thing, but this looks like a bridge, you know what I mean? Like one of those, like either a highway bridge, but it's probably a bridge for the train, and that this is the surrounding terrain of things. And so maybe, like, even though we did see that town, Shadow's house is still high in the mountains. Like, this could be a very mountainous area that is hard for a normal person to traverse without the train. And so yeah, I was just looking at the photo for that reason. And when it's more zoomed out, you still see the bridge, but then you sort of see like some sort of path up here. And so I don't know if that's a train path or just like a walking path, but what I would guess is that this is actually like your view if you were looking out of the castle almost. Like, this is the road up the castle, this is the train, and then this is the road upwards, something like that. So it's nice to see that we're getting more images in that way. I guess it must be just the twins and then her, because they don't seem to have a fourth member of the team. In the background here, we see some trees. That's pretty much it again. I think that this is probably just like the surrounding estate and everything. This is a dead tree though, like a very like no leaf tree compared to this one that has some leaves. And I did have like a theory about the paintings a couple episodes ago. Let's see if we can see anything else. What is this? Do you guys see this? I guess this is just like shadow and stuff. I don't know. There's something weird about this like outline, like this like white part of the photo right here. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my monitor. For some reason that's like very like highlighted. That was like a skeleton. Like, look at him, okay? So I don't know if we can zoom in anymore. Let's try to zoom in some more. How do I do that? I forgot. I don't know how to zoom in. I forgot about it. Okay, but yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say is if you look at this, right, does this not look, you'll have to look really closely, but I see like a little head, okay, an eyeball, and a bony arm. And so I don't know if I'm just seeing that, right? Like, it could be one of those things where it's like you're seeing what you want to see, but like if you have the time, go look at the painting a bit more closely, because I cannot. Oh my god, okay, I think that we found it. Let's see if we can like zoom in, like I mean in, okay? Yeah, I guess that's the furthest that we're gonna go. But yeah, maybe you guys can see it a little bit more now that I did that. Maybe that'll help. But see, this looks like a skeleton. And so what if that's a representation of like those who tried to escape and things like that? Just because that's like a big part of this episode is like, oh yeah, Like, they have traps for people that want to leave outside of the front door. So we have this scene with Kate and Emilico, and Kate's like, it would be nice to study together, right? But obviously Emilico now has night watch, so she can't. And this seems to upset Kate because she is starting to emit soot, right? And so this is the first sign of her like being like upset about this, but we do see that more later in this episode, right? And so you have to think about it, like night watch took away, to some extent, like took away their ability to like spend time together and like be able to be prepared for the debut. On the other hand, I do think, considering that Emilico like solved that whole problem, I feel like that Barbie will have no choice but to give them some praise for finding out what happened. Like, I'm really interested in like them telling Barbie, this is what's wrong, we have proof, here's the hinge, you can see where the soot's coming from, we found it, bitch, and seeing how she responds, because I feel like that even though she's a very like feisty character, she may be one of those characters where it's like respect when respect is earned, right? And that Emilico will earn her respect because she genuinely found out the problem. But anyway, I guess we'll see. I'm saying that even though it seemed like in the short term it could hurt their standing, like it could hurt their chances at the debut, in the long term, if Barbie has as much power, or I guess her Shadow Master, right? If her Shadow Master has as much power as they say, it could be possible that like, and she did say that she'd tell the adults like that they were inept, right? And so she could be like, hey adults, like actually, like they found a big problem. Can you guys come here and fix this, right? Because I don't know if they'll be able to fix the pipes themselves or whatever, right? Like somebody else may have to do that. And so I feel like that Barbie may be like a respect where respect is earned, and that Emilico may earn her respect. And that could actually help her standing in the debut, because she could tell the adults, yeah, this group of dolls, they actually like did the thing. They did a good job. That's just how I'm thinking. So this was a great part of the episode because we finally got to see in the other rooms, and I'm so happy about that, right? And so he's like, yeah, that's quite impressive, Ricky. A star bearer praised you. I'm so proud, right? He has that sort of thing. There's one doll who's the black sheep of our team, but I showed him his place and none too gently. So I'm like, he's just bragging about physically harming the other doll. And then he's just like, excellent work. And I'm just like, right? And so I wonder if the Shadow Master is actually like agrees with this, like they're basically like the perfect pair, like they both have the same personality type thing, or if he's just like, yeah, you suck up, you know what I mean? Like he's just like, excellent work, you suck up, and sort of like just accepting it rather than him actually like being violent himself or enjoying the fact that his doll is punching people. You know what I mean? There's a distinction, right? Like there's like, yeah, my doll is, I guess, like, you know, trying to suck up, that's fine because it'll improve my standing. And then there's like, yeah, go Ricky, you punched him, woohoo, right? It just depends which personality type he is. But what's interesting is in like the end song, we see a case where it's like half of Ricky's face and then half of Patrick's, I guess, half of Shaun's face and half of his shadow. And so I sort of had a theory like, oh, well, maybe one of the dolls is like good while their master is like not evil, not to be reductive like that, but you guys know what I mean, but more so like one of them is like bad and one of them is good, or like one of them is good and the other is bad, so to speak, or like they have more opposite personalities. But I think that what this actually tells us is that Ricky and Patrick are pretty much like one and the same in a lot of ways, right? And so it's more like they're just halves of each other. That's how I sort of read that. And maybe Shaun is also a half of like his master in a sense, like they have a lot of overlapping personality traits, where Rum and her shadow are both in shadow together, and I feel like that's because they have the exact same personality, right? So I think that with this, it's like overlapping, so maybe the bad side or like the manipulative side of Ricky overlaps with Patrick, whereas maybe Shaun will have another part that overlaps with his shadow, and so that's basically what I'm thinking in that regard. I simply did what was befitting of your face, right? So that's basically what he's saying, like this is what you do, I'm acting like you. And so I feel like that my Venn diagram theory is right, that like they had that half because like half of Ricky is just Patrick in a sense, right? Whereas like all of Rum is her Shadow Master. They're exactly the same. That's sort of what I'm thinking, because neither of them talk to each other in this scene, right? They kind of look at each other, like she looks at her and they just don't talk, and then she leaves, and then it seems like that she may turn to see that she goes, but they don't say anything to each other. And so this is what I mean by they're the exact same. They're quiet, timid, shy, whatever you want to call it. They're literally the exact same, and that's why they were both in shadow in the song. Whereas, like, you know, these two, they're probably not the exact same, but they have an overlapping, like, goal or overlapping, like, manipulation, charismatic type streak. I just love to see Emilico so positive in these scenes, and then you also, like, obviously have the introductions, even though this doesn't go very well because Rum won't even say her name and she's sweating, right? So I feel like she's too anxious, whereas, like, Shaun, he's just like, yeah, I'm Shaun, right? Should we start our watch? We'll find something if we look around. Something you say as if dolls like us could solve anything. And I've talked about this in the past, but this is a very, like, not ashamed per se, but a very self-conscious gesture. I've talked about that in My Hero Academia because another character does that. Whereas, like, Rum looks totally hopeless, right? So he's more self-conscious, like, feeling down on himself, whereas Rum is like, yeah, this is fucking hopeless, right? We have plenty of time before the major house cleaning in 1 week. And so I feel like that was the goal. They basically had 1 week to figure it out, and they only had one more day near the end, and then they did. Woohoo, right? And so, yeah. I feel like the major house cleaning, though, could also have a double meaning. Like, it's not just cleaning soot, but it's also like a cleansing of some kind. Like, dolls are gotten rid of, shadows are gotten rid of. That's just the vibe that I got from that line. Anyway, I'm gonna skip a lot of them looking around, but it seems like that he thought that this was Emilico. Maybe it was because of the little hair things at the side, but his vision's that bad, right? Because look, she has little things and then it has little things. So I think that he thought that it was her, that he was like looking at her or something. And so yeah, it's kind of interesting though that this is what he's looking at, just because this is like a ram and this is like very like strong and like, you know what I mean, like a very strong animal. And he's not to say he's a wimp, because he did stand up for Emilico in a very like sly way, like a very like, you know, like subtle way, I guess I should say. But you know, he did get punched and didn't fight back, and he seems like he's not much of a fighter until the scene where he actually does stomp on the thing. But I mean, like, personality wise, he's like, oh, how can dolls like us solve anything, right? Like, he's not as strong as this ram, is basically what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I think it was just because they have the same hair shape, but it could also be like a metaphor for like he's looking up to that ram and he wishes like he was strong like that, but maybe he's like not strong and confident like that animal represents. I really like this just because Emilico is like basically holding both of their hands, and I thought that it was really cute. Like, I just really like the scene, and I like the progression because even Emilico, like, her positivity is worn on in these scenes. I did try to like look around at the objects because, again, I'm not gonna like screenshot every single room that they went into because they were basically the same for a while, but we do have some flowers. We know that flowers and birds, oh, those are just birds, those may not be flowers, but we do know that flowers and stuff seem to be very important to the Shadows family. They all have flowers in their hair, whereas other characters don't. I'm just looking to see if there's anything carved on the clock. It does seem like there's something here, but I can't really tell what it is. It may just be a design. But yeah, we also see, okay, well, yeah, the light may actually help us. I don't know what this is. It's just lines or something. It's some sort of like plant type design, it looks like. But yeah, and obviously over here we have a rose, right? So flowers are very important, and I feel like that, I don't know like how popular like Western fairy tales like Beauty and the Beast are in Japan. However, like something that I've been thinking about constantly as we've been going through the story is Beauty and the Beast and the parallels, right? Like you have this like mysterious enchanted castle, you know, like all of that sort of stuff, like some stuff with the village I sort of talked about in regards to like fairy tale comparisons last week, right? So, you know, I wonder if the whole flower thing, because a lot of them do have roses. I'll have to check to see what Barbie's shadow mistress has, but I think that it's also roses in her hair, and roses are obviously like, that's a very big thing, not in just Disney Beauty and the Beast, but like any Beauty and the Beast interpretation that you look at is basically gonna have roses. Like, they're a very important part. So I wonder if that could be like some sort of hint, you know what I mean? And so yeah, these almost look like roses too on these flowers, on these plates. This scene is important, right? How is this watch duty going to help my master? Because again, at first glance, it doesn't seem like it will. However, I think that they will be rewarded for figuring this out. If not by Barbie, by that other guy, right? Because there were 2 star bearers, so I'm sure that he has some power too. And so he could actually be like, now Barbie, okay, they did the thing that you asked, so we gotta give them, you know, some props, right? So he could like maybe reel her back in. And so yeah, like even she's thinking about it. I feel like that even though she doesn't talk shock she's thinking about the same thing, right? Because if she's already failing and if she's already like inept, right? Like how is this helping? She's not being able to be with her master to be more prepared. Again, more flowers in the background. There's also a photo back here, and I think I did end up getting a screenshot of it. We'll have to look around and see if we can find that image. If I did, it seems like that there's another photo of the town over here. We talked about that last week. This seems to be a similar photo to before. Yeah, so I can't really tell what this is. I did try to put up the brightness, and it seems like that this is a staircase. With this, it kind of looks like there's an area, and then there's an area that's more elevated, like maybe this is Shadow's house, like in the walls or whatever. But yeah, I couldn't really tell. It wasn't that easy to see what was what, and so we just see like the progression of like the days, and I really did like to see this, like how things look outside of the house and everything. Like I thought that this was cool. They did like a lot of day night, and so I thought that was nice. I did again skip through a lot of this part just because like this seemed like very unnecessary to screenshot the same rooms we have already seen before. But I do want to make note of multiple flower vases, right? Again, flowers seem to be very important to the Shadows family. There's also a statue, and that could come back into play later because we did see a statue in last episode, and I did like wonder, I did pause it, or pause it? Yeah, I did like think, you know, I did wonder if that could be like a representation of Lord Grandfather, because I found it very strange that there was just a random statue. Like I know that like rich people have art and stuff, but like this seems like the same statue, but again, and just higher this time. But yeah, and so we just see like the progression through her diary as well. Like I like to see all the little chickens that she draws, right? And so they seem to be cleaning the classroom in here. I wish that we could read this. They made this unreadable because of us, and then we see a bunch of books, which that's really good. But yeah, and so I like that we see the boys team for a little bit. Like I feel like that was really nice to see them all together. And then we see even Emilico has lost her spirit, right? In the other one she's happy, and this one she's like sad. She's like actually sad or like sick of it, right? And I feel like that's also representative in the chickens as well. Like you have this one, it's flying. Then you have this one, it's a little more sad. Then you have this one, she doesn't even bother, I think, drawing the legs. And then this one's like lopsided because it's like even more sad than the other ones. And so I thought that was a nice little representation. But everyone's tired. They have bags under their eyes, right? Which is not good if you're supposed to be a face. Did he bring something that might help? And he did, but also no, he wants to sleep. But yeah, see this statue again? Like this is the same statue, right? And it's not like this is like a 3D model and you're like reusing it. You know what I mean? Like this isn't like Miraculous or Ruby where they may like reuse assets and stuff. Like this is like a 2D show, so it's there for a reason. What's the reason? I don't know. I feel like that it may be Lord Grandfather, like almost like a religious statuing, because it seems like that they are like, oh, the creator, like with him, and so I feel like that it could be the same thing. So yeah, and so the blankets are so he can fuck off and sleep, which I thought was really funny. They lock our doors once we leave our rooms, right? Because they don't want them to stay in their rooms, they want them to do Night's Watch, but I'm surprised that somebody let him get away with this, so I'll sleep here until our time is up. So he's basically giving up. But we only have until the day after tomorrow. Barbie just wants to sow discord between our masters and us, right? So he's basically saying that she won't actually tell the adults that we're inept. She's just trying to cause more problems. Or we will show our own ineptness. Barbie won't have to tell the adults, but if we are, you know, apart from our masters for this long, we will be inept. So she won't need to tell. She won't need to do anything. That's the vibe I sort of get, right? My daily cleaning is starting to suffer from my lack of sleep. And you, Emilico, I did Mistress Kate a disservice by oversleeping this morning. Blaming it on someone else without a reason isn't right. We are our master's faces. How can we fulfill our role if we all look worn out? And so he does have a good point there, right? I only take my master's instructions seriously. So he's basically like, fuck Barbie, fuck you, kinda. Like, I only take my master's instructions. I'm not listening to Barbie. I don't care about finding the cause of this. I don't care if Rum gets the blame in the end, right? I feel like that's basically what he's saying, that it doesn't matter if Rum gets the blame because he's taking his master's instructions and he needs to like be there for his master, right? Please don't give up. I brought something that'll help. It's a map. Mia drew it, right? So Mia did it, not Rosemary. Again, I'm sort of thinking that Mia may be the better team leader here. I think that this was a really cute scene just because she's like, I've never had anyone next to me as I fall asleep. like it's weird to sleep here. And she does, you know, say, okay, like, let's get a little sleep. You're right, right? You know, she does concede his point. But it's funny how she's like, you're right, Shaun, it's important to sleep, but are they sleeping? No, she's keeping everyone awake. And you may try to hide it, but I can tell you care about us. After all, you helped me during Barbie's scalding, right? And so she's trying to be like, you're saying that you only take your master's instructions seriously, but I know that you do stuff that's not to benefit him, you know, like you just do stuff. I only did it because she irritated me. And so that's a very Cinderella type thing of him, like, I don't like you, Baka. Like, I feel like that you could definitely, like, ship them or something. I don't know. And so, yeah, this is the first scene where Rum actually starts to talk. Let's forget about watch duty. I'm nothing but trouble for you two. And so I find that, like, really interesting just because she's willing to just take the blame because she doesn't want to drag other people down. I feel like that's the vibe, right? And so I feel so bad for her, though, and you see, like, her tears on the floor, and it's just so sad. Nobody even needs me, but that's not true. Your shadow mistress needs you because if you're judged to be inept, you're both gonna die, right? So, like, I feel like that. I'm surprised nobody mentioned that, like, her master needs her, like, her shadow master needs her. I'm sorry. And then Emilico's like, hooray! And I'm just like, sis, inappropriate, right? But still, right? I'm glad you finally spoke up. You're no trouble. I'm so happy I became friends with you and Shaun. I've also been called a failure, and I love that. We love the parallels, literary parallels, I guess, in a sense, right? Like, they're relating to each other, you know? And she's almost like a big sister in this, like, episode, even though she's still very young herself. I've also been called a failure, but Mistress Kate protects me anyway, right? Somebody needs you. There isn't anyone who isn't needed. So I'm surprised that, again, they didn't bring up, like, that her Shadow Master needs her, but maybe that's pushing more for, like, the individuality. Like, you don't just exist for your master. Like, somebody else needs you that's, like, not reliant on that. I thought this was funny just because she's like, I want to be friends with you. You too, obviously, right? Just to make sure that you're still there. What I mean is, and so then she says that her name is Rum. And what's interesting is she talks to her finger, and I have a theory about that, but we'll get there when we get there. Like, I have a theory about that connecting with, like, the soot stuff that I talked about last week. I wonder if the way that her and her shadow communicate is actually through the finger movement. Like, you could, you know, the easiest answer, the Occam's razor type thing is, oh, she's just talking to herself. But the Calxiyn theory brain is that we have this theory that soot could be sewn into clothing, and if shadows can control clothing, the way that they would mimic, right, that a character like Mia would mimic Sarah is because Sarah controls the soot, and the soot is in the tights, and that moves your hands. Obviously, you'd still have to, like, sort of act with your face, but that could be, like, something that helps in terms of the debutant stuff. And so I wonder if the little thing on her finger actually has soot in it, and it's her, like, shadow moving it, and that's how they, like, talk to each other or something. That's how I was sort of thinking about it, right? And then they get startled, so she starts to run away. They think it's a phantom, and I'm like, really, sis? It's a phantom, let's run. And I'm like, this is not a phantom. Like, even if you had not seen the Veiled Dolls before, there was no way, but they're sleep deprived, okay? I'll allow it. No, wait, it's a veiled doll, right? So apparently this is the place where the character was supposed to be, but they weren't. And so I guess they replaced it with a veiled doll that was just, like, walking around, but I'm not sure why they did that, because I don't really understand the role of the character either, but I think that this fits in with more of the disturbing factor in terms of, like, if you're an audience member, right? Like, they bring us our food and clean clothes, and so, like, Emilico, like, thanks her, right? She's like, thank you for all your help. We're trying to get to the bottom of the Phantom Mayhem, but they don't speak, and that's a little disturbing, right? And so you have to wonder why they don't speak, right? Are they just not allowed to speak, or can they not speak? Is this like the Hunger Games, right? Where you have, like, people in the Hunger Games who had their tongues ripped out and stuff. That's what I'm sort of thinking, that their mouths are sewn shut, and one day we're gonna see, like, the veil of a veiled doll be lifted, and it's gonna be, like, little, like stitches in their mouth, and they can't talk anymore, and, like, they don't even, I don't know, like, something like that, something fucked up like that. And so, yeah, it most likely heard our voices and came to see what was going on. Now, we also have to wonder what is in this cart over here, because we can't really see. It just looks like a bunch of, I don't know, like, it just looks like a bunch of boxes and stuff, but it seems like that there's more to it than that on the very top of the station, and I don't know if that'll be important or not, but see how they're a little, like, I don't know, what is this? It almost looks like they're little bottles. Oh, okay, this is a candlestick. Yeah, so I wonder why it's transporting stuff like that. I thought it was like potions or something. But yeah, I don't know. That's interesting to note, like, what it's carrying. We'll see. You would think, like, candles emit soot, right? And so, I don't know, maybe there's like a connection with all that. What if you light a bunch of candles to get like soot, and then you like control the soot and you do something, you know what I mean? As opposed to like a shadow emitting soot for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, so with Rum talking to her finger, again, this could just be like, you know, her imagination, right? That she's made an imaginary friend, but given the fact that the ribbon is on the finger, I also wonder if, like, not to say that her shadow master is literally talking through the finger, but like, what if they have their own way of like communicating? Like, what if it's like 2 things for yes, 1 thing for no? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe she is just talking to herself, but that's what I was thinking about, right? She's not coming. The Phantom got her. Even if it didn't, she wouldn't come. I left them and I left them behind and ran. So I think that that's like, you know, an important thing is that she feels, again, down on herself. Like, she knows that she's a coward in some way, right? Still, I have a feeling she will come for you, right? And so see how it's moving? It's almost like encouraging, and maybe like she's just filling in the blanks. Anyway, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's not like that. Living dolls are expendable. Only the outlasting ones last very long. It wouldn't make sense for her to care about another doll, but she does, right? Wouldn't you be happy if she did come? Happy? I don't know what it feels like to be happy. And I'm like, Rum, like, what's happening? You know what I mean? Like, I guess, I don't know, if her shadow master and her never talk, maybe like she doesn't feel happiness at all anywhere. Meanwhile, even Shaun is picking up on the fact that like Emilico's kind of strange, right? Threat not over trivial matters. That's one of the rules living dolls learn from the time they are born. It seems I'm not an outstanding doll. You're right, Shaun. I should only concern myself with Mistress Kate. But the way you defied Barbie wasn't a good idea either, was it, right? And so she's almost challenging him. She's like, you know, you're right. Like, I should only be worried about Kate, but yet I'm not. And neither are you. So why? Like, we have these inclinations and these feelings to do things, right? You know? And so I feel like that's what she's getting at. It's true. That was no benefit to my master. I'm not an outstanding doll either. And so I love how she just pulls out the bread. This was a nice little comedic, like almost shipping moment between them, because he finally smiles and laughs, and I thought that was really, really nice. Why'd you have a roll in your pocket? Shaun, you smiled, and like, look at this. Look at how just like innocent she looks. I feel like that this is a nice like platonic ship, I guess. You know what I mean? Like one of those, like almost like Aang and Katara, right? Like from Avatar, like one of those sorts of ships, right? Like very just wholesome ship. What do you mean? I thought your face might be ceramic. I really like this just because like she's throwing shade, but she probably means it like literally. You know what I mean? Like she probably means it like not in a snarky way. Like I think that she genuinely, like that's genuine from her. Our expressions are for our masters, but your cheeks will harden if you don't move your face. That is true, right? And so I do like that, but it's encouraging him to be his own person and not just be, you know, or have emotions like around his shadow master. So I think that's going to be really interesting. So this seems like it's the front door to the house, because Mia says something like, oh, like they told them not to go there. Venturing outside the house, let alone entering this hallway, is strictly forbidden, right? And so I guess this hallway like leads to maybe a door that goes outside. Now the question is, we do see Barbie and her doll walking around outside, and so maybe that outside is okay. This may be like the front door or like one of the main entrances as opposed to like the gardens. Like maybe there's like a front and a back. Like in the backyard, there's the gardens, there's like that little maze area that we see like Kate and Emilico, right? And like you can walk around back there, but then the front of the house, right? Like the different wings are all different wings like in the backyard, right? So say you have boom, 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 like that. I'm sorry if that's not great. But then, all right, if you're in this wing, like this way would not be like to another wing. This would just be leaving the whole castle, right? And so I feel like that maybe this hallway like is an exit point, right? Where you could like feasibly like leave the entire estate, whereas like the backyard that Kate went into, like that's just a part of the estate that yes, shadows can venture into like once they're old enough, I guess, right? And so yeah, I don't know how Shaun noticed this, especially because his eyesight's not that good. Maybe it was his hearing. Like, he heard the fact that the rock, you know, I don't know, like maybe he just has heightened combat abilities, who knows? But yeah, and so the arrows, right, there's like a booby trap here to kill anyone who tries to leave, which is not great. And so if there's a booby trap that does this, that does mean that probably there has been at least one doll that has figured out that they, that not necessarily that they're human, but that they don't want to be here and they tried to escape. You know what I mean? Just because, like, I feel like that you don't have a booby trap in place unless it's happened at least once, right? You know, like there were arrows ready, and so I feel like that maybe things are not all as happy as they seem. Not all dolls are like, you know, Rosemary, who's just like sunshine all the time, like, we'll be happy, don't fret over trivial matters. Like, not all the dolls drink the Kool-Aid. Some of them, in fact, like, you know, figure things out probably if they're a little bit smarter than the dolls that we have here, and maybe they tried to run away and did not go well. Spoiler alert, did not go well. Now, this is probably going to be a big bad thing, because Emilico's ribbon gets like flown off of her, I guess, I don't know, cut off of her, and it probably will remain in this room. And so if there's any note or any alarm when a booby trap is set off, right, I feel like that they will find out that somebody tried to escape. And I don't know if they'll blame Emilico or not. Like, she is missing a ribbon. At the same time, like, she could easily make another one. But I do think that that ribbon being there is probably going to be bad for some reason. I don't know if they'll connect it to Emilico, like, oh, Emilico, you tried to leave, what the fuck? Or if the adults will just know that a doll tried to leave because there's a ribbon and they'll tighten up security or something. I don't know if the consequences, I guess, will be for everyone or just Emilico as an individual quite yet. That's basically what I'm saying, but I do think that the ribbon itself will probably be important. Does this mean that all who try to leave Shadow's house are immediately eliminated? Thanks, Shaun! Would they really go so far? Living dolls have thoughts and feelings and wish to be of service to their shadow masters. And so I feel like Emilico is saying basically like, oh, but why would they do that? Like, we just want to be of service to their shadow masters. But I feel like that Shaun is a little bit smarter. He's just ignoring reality because he's saying threat not over trivial matters. He doesn't want to think about it. But I think what Shaun is probably figuring out is that not all dolls are like that. You know what I mean? Not all dolls have that inclination to serve, and there must be a reason that dolls are running away, right? Like, I feel like that he could put pieces together if he wants to think about it, like that this is not good, that this is a very, like, again, like Promised Neverland vibes in a good way this time, not in a bad way. So then they hear Rum scream behind the wall, and so it's basically like their rooms, like the revolving door, right? But something I would like to say about this is I wonder if this is again representative of Emilico's like individuality, in the sense that when she came to Shadow's house, we see the scene where they're all dressed in like peasants' clothes, in a sense, right? And she has her hair down. It seems like that she may only tie it up because Kate ties it up, or Kate wants it tied up, right? And so I feel like that one tied up and then one down, like this is like more of Emilico like as the individual, again, like instead of like her acting like as a living doll, she's just acting as a person who wants to save her friend. Like, it could be metaphorical like that, the fact that she lost her ribbon trying to save her friend, like again, one of those like losing the bounds of the house, like she still has one in, like one out, sort of to represent how like different she is in that regard and everything. So yeah, that's in a revolving door, and she just like plows into it for some, like she does a running jump into it for some reason. My whole body aches from plunging through the door. You could have opened it normally, right? And so yeah, I don't know why she didn't, but she just got overexcited, I guess. Ouch, I just ran into a wall. Wait for me, I'll be right there. And so see, he is worried about her. Aww. And so I really like this scene where they hug, and again, like, I don't know if this is just a coincidence, but it's interesting that the side that has not the ribbon, that has not the ribbon, the side without the ribbon is the one that we actually get to see more of, because Emilico did this because of her feelings as Emilico, not to serve her master. You know what I mean? Like, not to serve Kate. And so I feel like that this is very important because it's the side that does not have the ribbon. Like, this is truly, like, this is the true essence of Emilico and who she is as a person in that regard, right? And so even in this scene, right, you see her hair down. again, right? Instead of it being up like Kate's hair is up. And so I feel like that was very important, right? Because it shows like how much she's willing to like risk in a sense, but also like her individual identity. Like this is who she is. She genuinely cares about people, and it's just making her stand out more. Like she's not a doll, she's a human, right? And her hair being down shows that, right? I don't know, it's hard to explain. I'm sure you guys get it. I think it is distressing though how easily she just stomps on them as if they're little bugs, and I guess they are, right? But like she does it in a very like cheerful kind of way, and I feel like that it's gonna be sad later if we find out that these things have feelings or something, like we sort of speculated last week when we saw that one looking sad at Rum's feet and everything. Like that's just what I'm sort of thinking, is that these things may not be as bad as we think they are, like something like that, right? And so I really like how they do this scene in terms of like the fight. Like I feel like that this was really good, but I didn't bring any water. That was a big mistake, right? And so I think that she'll learn from this mistake. This could be foreshadowing for the future, or she could just be smarter in the future, right? Not literally jump through doors and things like that, right? And so I really like this. So she uses the blanket, right? And that shows like how resourceful and intelligent Emilico is. And this is why I don't think that she'll fail the debut, because even without water, she's like, hey, you know, Shaun, can I borrow this? And like she uses it to their advantage, right? And she just goes all over the place during this scene. Yeah, so Shaun just drop kicks it, and I'm like, sir, were you a soccer player in another life? You know, like maybe he was a sporty kid before he was abducted by Shadow's house, because he does like a really good kick. So it shows that he's strong too and confident when he wants to be. And so this was great. Like this was a great episode for character growth for Ram as well as Shaun. Like I feel like that Emilico helped them gain confidence and strength, because at the beginning, Shaun again subtly protects Emilico but doesn't fight Ricky when Ricky literally punches him, whereas we actually see that Shaun is pretty strong and can cut a bitch, you know, he can fight himself. And then on Rum's side, it's about like knowing her worth and that she's not useless and that she can open up, right, a little bit. And so I feel like that they were both changed in a way, that they both like increased in confidence because of Emilico, and that'll probably be important for their debut. Yeah, he's really strong for some reason. And then they find out why all of this is happening, because like this hatch is broken and there's soot leaking from this pipe, right? And so we actually see this machine, and I'm really curious about all this stuff. And basically my current theory right now is that it seems like that this is some sort of pipe that leads down into the basement, right? So we have pipes from all the rooms. This pipe is leaking, so I wonder if they'll actually fix it or if they'll just have to keep cleaning up here. And so the soot goes to the basement, right? And so you have to wonder like what happens to the soot after that. And so what I'm basically thinking is that the soot goes down to the basement, and then in the basement something happens. Now I have this theory that basically the reason why they're allowed to abduct all these children is because they give prosperity to the town below them, and that's like through somehow pressing the soot into a resource. So say pressing it into coal, like a burnable material that can be used for fuel, and that would be very lucrative, especially around this time, like natural, not natural gases per se, but like that sort of energy, right? Especially if we're in a time where there may be like cars, I don't know, right? Like that sort of thing, like industrial revolution, right? So having access to coal or like a burnable material that could run a car and run a train, like that would be very valuable. And so that's my theory, is that they let the Shadow House do this because they give prosperity to the town, and they do that through the resources that they make through the soot. And so I feel like it all goes into the basement, and then some of it is pressed, and then maybe some of it is used to make like a new Shadow, who knows. And I just love how she hugs her and how like they're so relieved, and then they celebrate through eating the roll. He's like, I don't need any. Again, I don't need that baka. You know what I mean? It's that like, I don't care about you, baka, that whole thing, right? And so I really like this scene, because he's actually hungry. And like everyone knows, everyone heard it, so he just has to accept it. Isn't this the bread that the Shadows family eat? I actually wonder if this could cause some problems, because I had this theory last week about like, oh, well maybe like the bread has a bunch of nutrients, because I don't think that an actual person could live off of just bread. Like I'm sure it's like that Japanese bread that has like stuff in it, you know what I mean? Like meat or vegetables or something. But I wonder, like, if you have different nutrients for a shadow, could that be messing with them somehow? Like, what if they get like super strength from eating this or something, right? Like, some people said that it was just probably like a class type thing, like the Shadows family, like they get good bread, right? Because they're, you know, they're like in that upper class, whereas the dolls get the bare minimum they need to survive. And I think that that is true, but it would be funny if like the difference in bread was actually for some sort of supernatural reason, that like the basic bread has human nutrients, but the special bread has shadow nutrients, and now they're eating the shadow nutrients, and that may not be good, right? Mistress Kate shares it with me, and so I like this. She's that close to her master, and so we kind of have, you know, the vibe of like maybe these two aren't, and I wonder what their relationship is like with their master, because he seems like, you know, oh yeah, Emilico and her master seem like friends, whereas he, you know, is more like, my master's my senpai. Like, that's how he seems to talk to him, or about him, I should say. We haven't seen them talk yet, but that's how he seems to talk about him. Like, I only listen to my master's advice. Like, almost not even his senpai, but like, you know, his mentor, his like, you know, his sensei, if you want to call it that, like an authoritative figure more than a friend, if that makes sense. And then you have, you know, Rum, who doesn't even seem to talk to hers, so we don't know. She really is a strange one, and so I really like this. Is it yummy, Rum? And so I thought that this was just a cute scene between all of them. But now let's wrap up. How much longer will Emilico be working outside of this room? And so she's angry again. We promised to share information. At this rate, we'll never make it past the debut. And again, I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I think there's a nice parallel here about how Kate has a flower pen, right? Like, not a flower pen. About how Kate has a feather pen, right? Whereas Emilico has this like crayon. I talked about like the parallels between them. Like, again, it's sort of like one has fancy clothes, one has maid's clothes, one has a crayon, one has this beautiful quill, and I talked about that a couple weeks ago. At this rate, we'll never make it past the debut. There is something that Kate needs to do. So here's the thing. What the fuck does Kate need to do? Because that's the only part of this episode that I personally did not understand or have like no idea what she means. I have ideas, but I have no idea, if that makes sense. Idea number one, she's gonna sneak out. Not great, but I could see her jumping out a window, being like knock, 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 and maybe like, you know what I mean, going to see like Lou or something. Especially because there's one up, one, like they're diagonal, right? So Kate's in the middle, there's boom, 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 and then it's sort of implied that Mia, Rosemary, and then maybe some of the other dolls are like to the sides or something, right? And so in that regard, I think that she could be like, knock, knock, bitch, let me in, let's talk, right? Let's exchange information, especially because it panned to the window. Like, obviously, like, this could be like, oh, she's looking towards, I don't know, the adults or the nobles or something, but it could also be like, you know, foreshadowing to the fact that she's actually just gonna break out and try to talk to another shadow, even though she's not allowed. That's the only idea that I have. The only other thing that I could see is somehow getting Emilico taken off of watch duty, but I don't know how she would achieve that. Like, I don't know how that would work at all. So yeah, that's the only thing that I have, is that she may sneak out and try to do something. Or she may try to like sabotage Emilico in some way, so she's forced to like stay in. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe she'll be like, my doll is making such a mess, she needs to stay here with me and clean up, okay? You know what I mean? Like, she basically like, you know, pretends that Emilico isn't like doing her job well enough, and so she'll get taken off of like house cleaning duty or something. But I feel like that would put Kate in jeopardy if she were to do something like that as well. So yeah, those are the only things I have. I do wonder if she's gonna sneak out or not. But otherwise, I hope that you guys enjoyed my analysis, my discussion, all my theories and everything like that. And I will see you guys next week for the debut. I don't know if we'll actually see it, but that's what the episode's called. So I'm super excited despite, again, the little changes that they made. I still have faith in the show. So we'll keep going. And so I hope that you guys enjoyed, and we will see you later. Bye!